Anyway, all mining sites are running smoothly. Overnight harvest totals are a bit lower than I'd like. Oh, we had some sputtering on the number 12 RCS thruster, but Jack and I managed. Oh, Jack. Good. Hold on a tick. Hera, pause recording.
Acknowledged, Captain Rhodes.
Morning, sunshine. And how are we feeling today?
Have you ever played a zero-G, story-driven 3D platformer in VR? I hadn't either, but was very excited about playing Lone Echo from developer Ready at Dawn in Oculus Studios. Lone Echo starts you as Echo 1, or Jack, an autonomous utility robot helping his captain on a mining vessel orbiting Saturn. The story mostly focuses on relationships, the inherent trust and dependency between the player character and his captain, the lack of trust when the player and a new character know next to nothing about each other and have to rely on one another to survive, and the humanizing of what could just be a cold AI. The narrative pulls you through extended sections with very little, if any, contact with other beings. This builds a sense of isolation as you search out other sentient forms. After prolonged sections without interaction with others, I was genuinely excited to see other characters, and genuinely disappointed when something ended up being a wild goose chase. In your interactions, the player is given a limited amount of responses to provide some minor roleplay elements, but don't get confused. This is a narrative that you are along for the ride on, not an RPG. Almost everything in the game follows the critical path. There are one or two minor side items, but overall, despite the movement system being based on complete freedom, the story is, although good, very narrow. The UI flows seamlessly into this narrative, easily allowing you to pop in and out of conversation or investigate the environment in order to flesh out the universe you've been thrust into. Most of the controls are done with hand movements, with only a few requiring a single button to activate. Your log, for instance, is a swipe along your wrist followed by a floating touchscreen, and the flashlight and HUD are activated by tapping the side of your visor. Your scanner and your cutting tool are activated by simply touching different parts of your wrist. This allows the player to entirely become immersed in the game's universe and not just be focused on controls as you float through the map.
Airport. Emergency power online.
And float you will. This game does not have the typical mechanics of a movement-based platformer, and I only use that term because I cannot think of anything else that fits the bill. The locomotion in this game is momentum-driven. There are thrusters for adjusting your velocity, but most of the movement is just pushing off of the objects around you, or more likely, grabbing onto walls and handholds and throwing yourself in the desired direction. This is probably the smoothest form of movement I've encountered in VR, much better than the teleport and click-turn technique. It isn't at all motion sickness inducing either, unlike a lot of the smooth movement systems you'll see in VR. You can also adjust whether you want pitch, yaw, and roll, or if you'd like a simpler control scheme. This movement is the meat and potatoes of the game, as it is a platformer, of sorts, after all. So what's wrong with the game? First of all, it's an Oculus Rift exclusive, so you need an OpenVR mod if you want to play on Windows Mixed Reality headset or on an HTC Vive. And if there is one thing I dislike, it's exclusives. There are some areas that have frame rate issues, but that seems to be isolated to just a few rooms and not an issue through the entire game. There were also some locations in the game where you're supposed to find a safe route wrapping around the edge of the map to reach an objective, but I found out through trial and error, and a lack of patience, that you can just brute force hurl yourself straight through. So the game's not perfect, but I didn't find these issues to significantly detract from the developer's vision. Overall, I was very impressed with Lone Echo. The story, the visuals, the movement, all added up to a well-polished, fulfilling virtual reality experience. This is not a tech demo. It has the feel and fine-tuning of a AAA title, and that is something that VR could use a lot more of. What's your favorite VR experience? Any ideas on how locomotion could be improved in this still-growing tech? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.
We should reseal the hatch before